Last winter, Vladimir Putin deployed a strategy of psychological attrition, freeze Kyiv into submission. Between March 13th and 14th, Russia launched nearly 500 drones and missiles at Ukrainian power plants and transformers. But the siege failed to force a surrender. Instead, Ukraine answered with a massive daytime drone swarm of its own. The Ukrainian military redirected the fight to the Russian capital. From March 14th to the 15th, Moscow endured an intense 10-hour aerial assault. The daily rhythm of the city ground to a halt. Domodedovo, Vnukovo, Sheremetyevo, and Zhukovsky airports were forced to suspend operations simultaneously. Dozens of major flights were delayed, stranding thousands of passengers in the terminals. Russian officials initially tried to minimize the impact, but citizen footage flooding social media forced the Ministry of Defense to admit the reality. Air defense systems had intercepted 170 Ukrainian drones over Russian territory, with dozens straining the network directly over Moscow. Moscow's skies are guarded by S-400 and Pantsir air defense umbrellas. The S-400 is a high-altitude surface-to-air missile system, while the Pantsir provides short-range protection against low-flying threats. How exactly did a fleet of relatively cheap drones manage to break through systems worth hundreds of millions of dollars? This breach in the capital's armor is the visible result of a systematic collapse engineered deep inside Russia's military infrastructure. This diagram shows how swarm tactics are explicitly designed to break radar networks. Every traditional air defense system has a mathematical saturation limit, a maximum number of targets its radar can accurately track and engage at one time. Ukraine is deliberately exceeding that limit. When a radar dome detects too many incoming threats at once, the computing system locks up. The battery is forced to rapidly deplete its limited supply of highly expensive interceptor missiles, trying to shoot down waves of cheap decoys. We can see the exact physical cost of this mathematical overload near the border. In mid-March, Ukraine's Unmanned Systems Brigade isolated and destroyed 5 Pantsir S-1 air defense units in the Belgorod direction. With those units erased, Belgorod is no longer a protected rear area staging ground. Its airspace has been carved wide open, turning into a free-flowing corridor for Ukrainian medium-range strikes. By blinding the radar networks and exhausting the interceptors, Ukraine has turned the hunters into the hunted, and with the defense shields down, the vital logistical arteries sustaining the Russian front line are completely exposed. Look at the southern theater of the war. Crimea serves as the primary hub sustaining Russian troops in Kherson and Zaporizhia. Because previous attacks severely damaged the Kerch Bridge, the Russian military had to shift a massive portion of its logistics to vulnerable maritime ferry crossings. Ukraine exploited that bottleneck. In a highly complex daytime strike, Ukrainian intelligence disabled the Slavyansk ferry and the Avangard transport vessel. Without those massive railway ferries operating across the strait, thousands of artillery shells, tanks, and military supplies are now sitting stranded in ports. But cutting off the physical supply chain is only half the strategy. To stop Russia from rebuilding those defenses, Ukraine targeted the technological brain of the military machine, the massive Kremniel facility in Bryansk.
This specific factory produces the microelectronics required for modern warfare. Its cleanrooms manufacture the precision targeting chips for Iskander ballistic missiles, a mobile weapon system used for tactical strikes, as well as the power and control modules that operate the S-400 and Pantsir batteries. Taking this facility offline creates a severe strategic impasse. The Kremlin is operating under strict Western economic sanctions and global technological isolation. They cannot easily source or manufacture replacement high-precision microelectronics to repair the systems damaged on the front. And while the air defense supply lines are starved, Ukraine is hitting the aviation fleet directly. They launched a deep strike into the Republic of Adiga, 500 kilometers from the front line, devastating the infrastructure of the Kanskaya military airfield to eliminate tactical aircraft rife on the runways. This is a deliberate, cascading failure. Without the microelectronics factory, shattered air defenses cannot be repaired. And without that air cover, the physical supply chains running to the front line are left entirely defenseless. The Putin administration is now pinned inside an unsolvable geographic dilemma. Russia's massive territory is suddenly its greatest vulnerability. The Kremlin has to choose: pull air defense batteries away from the front to protect the capital and billion-dollar strategic facilities, or leave Moscow exposed to keep the soldiers covered. The financial bleed of this exposure is brutal. Repairing destroyed power transformers and thermal plants requires billions of dollars in unexpected costs. Those expenditures drain the state's reserves, driving heavy pressure onto the ruble and sending domestic inflation soaring, which leads to a critical question. When border cities are plunged into the cold, the currency is crashing, and the state's image as an absolute protector is visibly failing, why isn't a major civilian uprising breaking out? The answer is a ruthless, highly capable domestic security apparatus. The FSB and the National Guard have arrested over 20,000 citizens since 2022. They keep tens of thousands of specially trained riot police ready to flood the streets and crush public assembly the moment it begins. Beyond physical force, the judicial system has been fully weaponized. Vaguely written foreign agent laws mean an ordinary citizen can face a 15-year prison sentence simply for posting a dissenting comment on social media. People have been forced to become their own censors. Any chance of organized resistance is further paralyzed by the complete disintegration of the political opposition. Following the death of Alexei Navalny, there is no longer a unifying figure inside the country capable of rallying the public. That same paranoia dictates the reality inside the military. While desertion rates climb and logistics fail, intelligence networks and constant command reshuffles prevent officers from trusting one another, resulting in a slowly eroding will to fight. The Russian state maintains control through a combination of heavy police presence and legal intimidation. As Ukraine expands its attrition strategy, dismantling the physical and technical foundations of the war machine, the Kremlin must decide how much of the nation's future it will mortgage to maintain the status quo.